Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Wareham Finance Committee. It's Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. We're in room 27 of Wareham Town Hall, and for the first time in, I think, quite a while, we are also hybrid on Zoom. So welcome everybody, and I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Yes. Jody Smith,
Present.
Dominic Camerano,
Present.
Matt Rose,
Present.
present, Gerald Stefanski,
Here.
Heidi Churchill, here, Mona Scoggin,
I'm here.
and Julie Moran.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum. And we're going to start by taking things a little bit out of order this evening due to conflicts with a couple of the people that we are having present to us tonight. As you all should have now the town warrant, meeting warrant, which was served on me this afternoon. And we are starting now our process of going through the articles, of which there are 31, and hearing what people have to say about the articles they're proposing. And at a later date, we will start to vote on those articles, is our usual practice. And so I'm going to move up to the top of the agenda. Select Board Member Alan Slavin, who's here to talk about the fall town meeting warrant article on the road commissioner change. Alan?
Thank you. I appreciate accommodating me because I have another meeting in about 15 minutes. There's been discussion over the since 2010, when the road commissioners were, by the Charter Review Committee, which I chaired actually, removed from the selectmen, because at that time the select board was having a lot of issues internally, et cetera. And it was felt at that time that they didn't have enough time or to spend enough time with road commissioners and also the sewer commissioners. They were both initially pulled at that time, and the sewer commissioners took another 3 years before that was actually voted on. We have 3 full-time employees for the town that are on the road commission, and it's creating problems, and there's been basically feedback that they really would like to not have to be there, et cetera. And what happens is, we usually, for selectmen, we get the emails from the residents about issues they have. We then obviously forward it to the road commissioners. And the problem is when the piece was set up, the road commissioners don't have all the authority and powers that the selectmen have. They also don't have accessibility to the town council right away. And the idea of bringing this back to the selectmen, because the board in place now will have time to take care of these things properly, is town councilors at all our meetings. So if something comes up that's a legal issue, et cetera, we can take care of it and do it correctly. And that's the main reason for pulling it back, is you have your town planner, you have your police chief, and you have your director of maintenance and stuff, and you'll have to come to these meetings during their regular time. They're supposed to be doing their regular job. So it's gonna save costs as far as that goes for the town, but what's really gonna do is gonna make it more efficient again. I'm sure some of the road commissioners that are in place are gonna be not very happy, but my concern is really to do what's best for the town. And this is really the way it's gonna work out, because if we weren't having complaints, et cetera, then I would leave it alone. But I think at this point here, because we took it away because the selectmen weren't doing the job, I don't think that's gonna be the case now. It's as simple as that. And there's no cost involved as far as, this particular pulling it from one back to the other. If anything, it should be a little bit of a savings. That's it. It's that simple.
Have questions?
So just one quick one. So originally it was just a time thing with the selectmen, why you established the road commissioner board,
Yeah,
for the most part.
I wrote, I believe, the article originally because at that time, I won't get into what was going on back then, but the bottom line was the selectmen were really not paying attention to the road commissioner stuff, and there was some conflicts. Some of the selectmen had conflicts, appearance of conflict, and also the sewer commissioner issue was the other thing that got done for the same reason. So basically, that's why those things happen.
Thank you.
Does this require a vote from the road commissioners?
No, if you read the article, you'll,
Okay.
town council assisted me to make sure that, because you have elected people in there, that it's not gonna be a problem.
And Alan, I know you're so busy on this select board. Does the select board feel confident that they have the time and energy to put into
It's the only
This-
reason I brought it up, to do it again, because I asked everybody up front beforehand.
Okay,
I don't wanna go backwards, go forward and then go backwards again.
okay.
What kind of things do the road commissioners do?
They get involved with signs on roads and stuff. They get involved, people say that their road needs work, et cetera. So municipal maintenance, gets involved. And again, the problem is that when you have your key people that are there during, that meeting and stuff, the answers don't get done right away. And when it gets to the selectmen are gonna basically, through the town administrator as well, are gonna ask the questions beforehand. Because the way I do things, if I get something on my agenda and I get it that night and look at it, we're not gonna deal with it, because you can't. So the stuff will be there in advance. We're already basically reached out to whichever one of the people who need to have answers. So when we get to the meeting, we already know what we can and can't do.
So this should basically be a streamline of the
I
process.
certainly hope so, because it's very frustrating the way it is now.
And Alan, do you feel that there will be public appearances by members of the public that have particular issues that might, again, take up your time?
That's okay, it's part of the
Okay.
job.
So they would come to select board meetings?
Yes.
if
Yeah,
they-
because they have to come before us.
Yes.
Because we
okay.
have to ask the questions. I never take anybody that comes in and makes a request personally, or whichever way it comes in. I read what it is, but I tend to look in about every direction possible to make sure there's not other things going on besides. It's very rare that you get a request or something when they ask for this, but there's a problem over here. So you wanna make sure you know what you're doing beforehand.
Through the chair, Alan, you said there's no additional expense to the
No,
town.
Just the other way, really.
Okay. Yeah, because the only time I remember seeing those meetings that were kind of heated was when they brought the the parking in onset. That was pretty heated back then.
Well, that was, when, you have to give Gary Buckminster a lot of credit.
Yeah.
The harbor master's job is not a parking czar, and Gary more than happily took that job on.
Right, but it was pretty heated back then.
Well, there's no way to be a winner there.
Yeah.
You have Onset Village, which it was never designed to have cars in it, number one. It was supposed to be a walking village, but it was way back in the 1880s, 1890s. And every one of those little 5,000-foot lots, the majority of the homes in the village don't
No
have
driveways, no driveways.
because they took the land and basically incorporated it into their house. And back then, you had a horse, maybe. You actually had transportation into the village from down by Depot Street and stuff. And,
I just remember it was
you have-
pretty
You have
heated,
homes there
yeah.
now, people have 3 or 4 cars.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, I mean, it's taken it's almost 5 years now, but there's very little complaints anymore. But it was never gonna work, smooth in the beginning. Because it's like you do stuff with the,
It is what it is, yeah.
well, no, it's not that, it's just you have to make it, you have to sit there and see what the problems are and just say, okay, this is it. You have to sit there and be adaptable to change things until it works smoothly. And I think it's worked out pretty well, but it's still very frustrating because Onset really is a walking village. And it's very hard for them to put a new business in Onset because they can't provide parking.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're dismissed.
Alan.
Have a good night. I'm dismissed. My wife says that all the time.
Have a good night, Al.
Night.
All right. I do have on the agenda public comment. I don't see anyone who appears to be a member of the public who might want to say anything. So let's skip that tonight, and let's move on to Select Board Chair Judy Whiteside to talk about the constable warrant article. If you could let Chair Whiteside into the meeting, please. And you're not muted, but your video is off. Is that intentional?
I am not figuring out how to, oh, there it is, can you see me now?
Not yet.
Not yet, still showing the camera's off.
My camera is on. Oh, hold on. Well, No, I don't, it won't let me go in, but,
We know what you
If
look
I-
like.
Yes.
okay.
We trust it's you.
It's fine.
Okay.
Why don't you
Sounds like you.
proceed with what you'd like to say about this article?
Okay, thank you. Judith Whiteside, Chair of the Select Board, and I can actually, if you don't mind, add a few bits of information on the Road Commissioners article.
That would be great.
I have been taking minutes for the road commissioners for the past 5 months because none of the members of the road commissioners wants to be the clerk. And the chair is Mr. Buckland, who, as you all know, wears 5 hats. Prior to my taking over doing the minutes for them, there was a 3-month hiatus when no minutes were prepared by the committee at all. The meetings were taped, and there was an individual in Wareham who volunteered to write those minutes. The previous member of that committee, John McConnell, used to be the clerk, and when he was clerk, the minutes were appropriately filed and created. It's a question of getting the work done, complying with the open meeting law, and if the members of the committee are not willing to step up to be the clerk for the committee, and they have somebody like me doing the minutes, it clearly is something that's not working as it should be. I would just add that. I'd like to speak on Article 15, which is the elected constable article. Many, many years ago, all of the constables in the town of Wareham and other cities and towns in Massachusetts were in fact elected. At the moment, we have 1 elected constable, and we have 9 appointed constables. This year, the select board made the decision to appoint constables for 3-year terms, not the 1-year terms, which is what we had been doing historically. And the reason we did that was because that's what other cities and towns are doing, is the 3-year appointment. In fact, a couple of the constables asked us if we would consider doing that. We did our research. The constables are required under the law to give us quarterly reports, and we send out a document to them and ask for those reports. The current elected constable, although she was elected in May, didn't get sworn into office until this month. Appointed constables are required by our office to take the open meeting law training, to take the ethics training, to take the harassment training, and they are quarried. An elected constable does not have to have any of those things. We believe, as a board of selectmen, that it would be appropriate to not have any more elected constables in the town of Wareham.
Can you explain what quarried means, please?
Certainly. A CORI is a criminal investigation. We do a cori sori. One of them is for criminal and the other is for sexual offenses. And in order for you to be a volunteer in the town of Wareham, you must have, to be an employee, you have to have that. In order for you to be a volunteer for the Council on Aging, you also have to be cori soried, because we believe that our volunteers for the Council on Aging are dealing with a population that is at risk. All school teachers in the Commonwealth are cori soried.
Thank you. Any questions on
I
this?
just have one, being nosy. Who does the quarries for you guys, for the town? Is it the police?
No, we have Miss Ellen England that does them,
Okay.
I believe. We send the forms to Miss Ellen England, and she reports back to us what the results are.
Yeah, no, I understand the system, I was just curious who does it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Judith, this will obviously save the town some funds, from what I can tell.
It won't save us any funds, but the current elected person said when she came in to get her paperwork, oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to be giving you money. Well, we sent quarterly reports and requests out to all of our constables, and they are filed in a timely manner. So I just think the system for the town would work better.
And just to be clear, this would get us down to 9 constables, and you feel like that's adequate?
We could have 10, you know, at one point, I think we had 16, and when we began to really follow up on the quarterly reports, several of them chose not to be reappointed.
Okay. Don?
Through the chair to you, Judy, Don Camerano. Does the town make any money off of their services? On that quarterly, is the town paid anything?
Yes, we get, I think it's $25 per service, it depends on the kind of service. And so that's what we get the quarterly reports on. They don't have to tell us who they served,
Right.
they just tell us that they have served. And they list on a list, Mr. Camerano, the, you know, the different services that they have provided.
Okay, so we do make money on it, that's great. The other thing is,
Yes.
on the 3-year appointment, would they be queried every year or every 3 years?
Every 3 years for the reappointment.
No, I know you said for the reappointment, I'm talking about the Cory check. Will that be done
No, we
yearly
would-
or every 3
We
years?
would not require that, as we don't require it, well, we don't require it of any of our current volunteers.
Okay, so they'd only be queried every 3 years upon reappointment.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to be clear, what kind of things are the constables serving?
They're serving things like the town meeting warrant, they're serving eviction notices, they're serving notices for appearances in court, particularly for child and family services, that kind of, it ranges, but we use a constable to serve the warrant, for instance.
Yes, I'm aware of that. All right, thank you.
Remember, I use them for everything, I even use them for rent increases, so that you have a legal document of what you did. Because I've been in the court, and without that legal document saying you did something, it doesn't work. And I have them serve all kinds of papers to tenants.
And the person requesting service is who pays for
I
it.
pay, right.
But $25 of that goes to the
Oh, I
town.
don't know,
Apparently.
whatever fee they charge me, that's why I asked, to
Yeah,
see what the
yep.
town's getting.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you, Chair Whiteside. I appreciate the information. And
Thank you. May I speak on Mr. Buckminster's behalf? I actually have the answers to his 3.
okay. Since he's not here, I would really appreciate it if you would.
Okay, excellent. Number 8, the amendment to the waterways rules. As you may recall, there was a substantial rewrite of the waterways rules in the previous town meeting. The Attorney General sent back a letter about 6 weeks ago or maybe it was 2 months ago, disallowing certain portions of it. One of them happened to be a couple of definitions, and they asked for clarification on certain things. One of the things that we had in there was seaplanes, and we are not authorized to regulate seaplanes. The FAA is actually, Mr. Buckminster went to the FAA for their comments.
Excuse me, one
It
moment,
was the
please.
state that took it.
I'm seeing somebody raise their hand, but I
Oh,
don't have
is
a
that-
name on it.
Zoom at, where, is it Mr. Buckminster by any chance?
I'm not sure.
Why don't you allow the person to talk and we'll see if we can figure out who it is?
It's another person from Wareham, apparently.
Yeah, apparently official. Could you identify yourself?
Hey, how are you?
Yes, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
is this
Then
Mr.
may I-
Buckminster?
Sorry. Hi, it's Gary Buckminster. I was in the meeting. I just, some reason it's not showing. I don't think you can see me either. I just went through the link and,
Yes.
but if you can hear me, I can go through it as well.
Okay,
Hold on just a second here. I'm gonna move him to panelist, so hold on.
okay,
Okay, and I'm going to remove myself from the meeting. Thank you very much for taking me early.
all right, you're
I
welcome,
very much appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Good night, Judy.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, thank you, Gary. I suspected you might be coming in this way, but since I hadn't heard, I wasn't sure.
No problem, sorry about that. I was on a meeting, and it just wasn't showing how to get into the panelist, so I
Yeah.
just did the hand raise.
I think,
No, that's
Like
fine.
Judy said, we went through the bylaws just to finish what she was talking about. And then they come back with their recommendations, and the environmental police also, and she made, mention of the FAA and a few aviation. There's a couple other aviation channels we have to go through as well, so, obviously the bylaw passed. They were, for such a large document, I was actually glad to see that there wasn't a lot of stuff they needed us to change, so I think we did our due diligence on it. But there's some wording and there's a couple items, that were, in the definition section that as we moved through, there were just some changes to like anchorage as opposed to mooring, and some factors to that point. And, we just wanted to make sure that some of our definitions just absolutely mimic what the state, defines motorboats as, seaplanes as, anything on the waterways, particularly, so. That's what we'll be going to the town meeting for, is just to get those, recommended changes approved so we can, clarify it in the document, and then finally have this document fully vetted.
great. Any questions? Well, good work. I remember when the full thing came through and it was massive, and this does seem like a very few changes that they're asking for, so it seems like we're on the right track.
I really appreciate all the help that, was given to me through a bunch of people. I won't go through all this now, but, we pulled something together, I think that was very fair, but we have to be strict, because you do have the people that like just doing their thing, and unfortunately, we just want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, and we progress with that.
Yep.
But as for that, there's not much else, there's nothing real conflicting in it. The one thing that we did look at was, section 109.0 and 109.1. Well, we were able to clean off a lot of the shorelines, all the public areas that had a lot of derelict boats. We were able to see what were brought back to us, so we know through permits and everything else, basically how many boats showed back up. And, a couple got away from us this year through kayaks and this and that. And that's where we want to make sure that we're looking at that portion of the regulation to be fair, that, we do want people to be able to enjoy the waterfront recreation. So we want to make sure that the verbiage for kayaks is back into that language. And that will run through a permit process. We've got the funding that we were given in the last town meeting for the kayak racks, so we're going to be building those this winter and getting them out. I'm going to make a couple of them that are portable, so we can start filling them with the boats that did show back up, and get the permits and get everything organized so the beaches don't look as cluttered. So that's about it for the article on the town meeting bylaw changes.
All right. Dom?
Gary, Don Camerano, how you doing?
Good.
If you're gonna build those kayak things, have you, maybe spoken with the guys at Upper Tech? They might build them for you.
Yeah, we've had good luck with the Boy Scouts also, so I'm more than willing to try and get in some kind of educational outreach to be able to do these things. I think it's a great opportunity. We just did that recently with the Boy Scouts and our mobility mats, and they helped us quite a bit for Shell Point and getting that mat adapted to that raised parking lot to transition onto the beach. So it's nice having that network, and the Boy Scouts, I think, it opened our local organization up to being able to kind of help us a little bit more. I think we both can benefit from what they're giving us, and I'd like to have them be a part of this.
'Cause they'll build them for you if you ask them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? All right. So let's move on to the other two articles, the dollar articles. So we have, I believe, 6. Let me just get to
6
that.
and 7.
Yeah, 6 and 7, and 6 is for $5,000. Can you start with that one, please?
Absolutely, try to keep it simple this fall. The $5,000 pays for, we don't have any public safe dockage, which provides lighting and cameras and security for our boat. that we utilize, Zeco Marine for our dockage. So it's our yearly dockage fee. We put this in the fall town meeting as opposed to the spring town meeting, because they're starting to send their invoices out a little earlier in the season too, so I just want to be on time with them and make sure that we get them, our slip secured when the invoice comes out instead of waiting, and they're good with us. We never go over or anything, but I'd like to be on our time with it.
I think we all like to pay our bills on time. Any questions? No, not Dom. Yes, Jerry?
Gary, which boat you got at the marina?
We actually have two. We have a 21-foot pump out boat and the 25-foot patrol boat that we have.
And what months are they there?
We leave one boat in year round, and we bounce between Wareham and Austin, so we can put the boats in. So for us, it's a year-round dockage, so we don't have to worry about, sometimes the rates change for fall or, entering in early. We can go in anytime. The only thing they do is they start shutting down electrical services, but we don't use the electrical service anyway. We don't have any problems with our boats being charged. In the wintertime, we can plug in and they'll put a breaker on for us, and we trickle charge it. But we keep the boat in year round just because, you never know what can happen, so.
All right, anything else on that one? All right, how about Article 7, $58,750?
7 will be the second to last payment for the floating docks in Austin.
Oh, did he say second to last?
Second to last.
We have one left after this, Gary?
Yes, correct. It will be done next fall.
Thank you.
Can you just briefly remind us of the history of that project?
Absolutely. Pre-COVID, we were approved funding to put in the new floating docks at the Austin Pier. The previous ones had deteriorated to the point where they're just not repairable. And we were able to come in with new wooden floating docks with the plastic floating tubs. We ran water, electricity, and waste pump down onto the floating docks and got it away from boats having to pull up onto the face of the pier. So now you can pull into the slips, get your boat pumped out. We've got some low power, so you can run some smaller stuff off the current electricity that we have going to the pier. But it's ready to go for if we ever do get the pier going, to bring up to 50 amp, 100 amp services on not only the floating docks, but on the physical pier. So that provided us a gangway, the fingers going out. It's adapted, so if the pier were ever to get rebuilt, the docks are ready to go, and they can be blended right into a handicap accessible dock system because of the width that we have the docks built at.
And to clarify, this is a project that's already been built, completed? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. The docks that everybody pulls into at the Austin Pier currently are the docks that we are paying for.
Okay. Did you have something, Jody?
Yeah, well, somebody was in the hall, I was waving, but I do have something to say. Jody Smith, could you just kind of tell people where this money came from? I understand where it came from, but when people see transfer from what and who raised it?
Yep. And as the article states, it's transported out of the Harbor Service Permit, receipts reserved for appropriations to the Harbor Master Maintenance and Improvement Account. So those monies are generated through that, monies that are generated by the waterways. And it's not coming out of the general taxpayer, it's coming out of the permits that you pay for your moorings, your boats being in the water, basically all of that.
And most of the money you collect, you basically put right back into something that's going to benefit the boater, per se.
We're very fortunate it's a circulation, and it helps us keep going, it helps us be able to do things like the docks, and we've had engineering done, and we've built, we've worked on the boat ramp, we've done a bunch of things, and if you look at our capital planning, we've been able to tackle a lot of our hurdles through this benefit. So, and it's nice that it's kind of like the fishing licenses that you purchase. The state has actually thought about it, and the money is just regenerated back into the program.
And a couple more, these kind of a little bit off topic. Have you had pretty good feedback from the mobility maps? Did people appreciate them? And glad it's something you guys have done?
You know, like anything, we had somebody, you know, like, I think people don't understand when they hear mobility mats, they automatically think it's just strictly for wheelchairs, and it's not, it's for, you know, it's just for easier access, and there's one area that we actually put right, which is right across from Hotel Street, because we have a lot of residents that come off of Hotel Street, and one of the biggest pushers of making sure that we had mobility mats and voters at the town meeting were the people on that street, and, you know, and that was a big push to have an area, even though they can navigate the stairway, their tough part was navigating the sand and not being able to access the beach from where they closely reside, so we really took that into account, and I think the feedback in general has been positive. We're gonna add some more next year onto some of the footage and move things around and make some more adjustments. But as of now, I haven't heard any complaints. We try to keep them clean. You know, sand does blow around, so we do go down to relief blowers and make sure they're cleaned off. And, you know, I think it's been a good addition. It seems like you know, for the most part, we're seeing people using them, so I'm happy that this has finally been something we can address. And, you know, maybe we can expand on it a little bit more on top of it, so.
I had some guests visiting very recently, and they were really impressed that we had those.
Yeah. I think it was a great idea, and, you know, thank you for doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
No, you know, and it's like I said, this isn't, you know, it takes a village. It's people knowing that, you know, we all have to understand it's just, what we all really have to understand is it's not just people with mobility issues on having to use wheelchairs and for that access. It's, you know, people that may have just had knee surgery, it's just something, or they just can't walk, or whatever the case may be, even moms coming down with a stroller, it's a nice feature for people to have, so they can get out there, they can sit close to the mats, they can do what they need to do and not struggle. And that's the biggest thing that we can take out of it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Gary?
Jerry?
Odds this weekend for Saturday night fireworks.
I'm gonna say 99% chance of rain, unfortunately, but I you know, whatever they choose, I support. I feel Kat's done a great job. We have a great relationship with her. You know, she's a personal friend, and, you know, and we also work with her, and if she says it's not a go, it's not a go, and I hope people don't give her a bad time, and unfortunately, it sounds like some people are already just shooting from the hip and making comments to her, and it's unfortunate because she always positively gives, just like the entire group. And Kat, you know, Kat's the highlight of it, and you know, I think a lot of people get forgotten on the mix of it because she's out there all the time. But then it's a village that makes it happen, and it's that community that's making that Austin Bay Association go, and they're great people, and you know, if they say it doesn't go, it doesn't go, and I will support her 100% to move it if she has to.
You make a decision with the best information at the time and
That's right.
move on.
I think what I saw is that by noon on Friday, they'll
Yeah,
make a
no,
call.
I saw the
So,
same thing.
yeah, that's good.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, I guess that's all we need from Gary tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for being
Thank
one
you.
of our test drivers on the new hybrid system.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great night, and thank you always for your support.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, so, the item C on the agenda, so we've been through A, B, D, and E. Item C on the agenda was the Wareham Land Trust. I put this on the agenda because it was tentative with them. It turned out that they can't come until October 4th. So we're gonna skip over that, but we will hear from them later. And that takes us down to item F, which is discussion of plans for the October town meeting report. As you all have seen, if you've taken a look at the warrant, it's 72 pages long. That's a lot of printing, but we don't really have a choice about that. Matt, have you had any conversations with Gateway since our last meeting?
No, I haven't been down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to touch base and reconfirm their timing. We're gonna have people scheduled at least through October 11th to come before us, and that will probably be the night that we finish our voting. I'm hoping we can keep it to close to 100 pages. You know, if we list the votes and have a couple of paragraphs or less on our recommendations. I think that's doable. We may make our fonts a little bit smaller this time. It would be nice if they made the warrant fonts, maybe I'll recommend that in the future, make the,
Yeah, I think it's great they have the articles up on the screen. too.
yes, no, and
Yeah,
that's
sure.
important, but I think we really do have to have the
You have
warrant.
to have some available,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, the next point that I thought we might discuss sort of tentatively is how we're going to divide up the write-ups. And my thought was, to the extent we can, it might be useful for us to each write up our own liaison committees stuff. I've already actually talked to Julie about this, since she would have the biggest chunk with planning board. There's a lot, as you may have seen, many pages, but she is already really familiar with it, so it makes a lot of sense, I think, for Julie to write that up. I'm happy to take the town administrator, we've got the sewer, which is Matt's. Conservation Commission, are you good with doing all of that,
Yeah.
Matt? Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have 4 citizen petitions, we'll probably need to take a volunteer. Jerry can do capital planning. And does that cover everything? I think it might. I have a spreadsheet. Somebody could probably take these, the couple that we did tonight that were sort of select board sponsored. And we don't actually have a natural resources liaison, do we?
I think that should fall under the
Public,
category of
public safety, public safety? Dom, are you good with
Sure.
taking those? All right. So I think that if we sort of are already thinking those terms as we're hearing people, it doesn't hurt to write it up right away as soon as you kind of know where we're going with it. And we'll probably need like a Friday, October, what is that, 15th as the deadline for getting it into the printer.
Okay.
But if, Matt,
That's
if you
the
can
outside
confirm that.
deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If-
so
It-
before.
That would get it printed by the Friday before the meeting, which is what I'm comfortable with, as opposed to the day off.
Town meeting's the 24th, correct?
23rd,
23rd.
Monday the
Monday.
23rd.
And the 15th, that's gonna give them enough time, you think?
Well, they talked about a week, is that right, Matt? Am I remembering that correctly?
Week to 2.
Okay,
So
so,
basically
You want
camera
to try and
ready
push
by
it
the
to.
15th.
yeah,
So the 15th would actually be a Sunday in October.
okay, I've got, 13th I think is what I meant.
Yeah.
13th, so that's
Okay.
10 days. Yeah, let's just find out whether that seems doable. I'm not really sure what we do if it's not, in terms of, I'm not shooting for getting everything printed a week ahead. If it's done by the end of the day on Friday before the meeting, I think that's fine. And technically the morning of the meeting, but I do think, I've talked already to town administrator about having a copy of the report posted on the bulletin board downstairs. We'll drop a few copies in the select board office and we'll get it up on the website well in advance of the meeting. So I think if we do that, as long as we have the hard copies in hand by the day, the bulk of the hard copies in hand by the day of the meeting, I think we'll be okay. But if you could just touch base again and their situation may have changed, we don't know. And worst case, we go back to Staples, but that's gonna cost us a lot more.
As long as it's up on the website, people can print it themselves too.
Well, that's the thing. Ideally, people would do what we all do, which is print our own things to the extent we need to, or keep them electronically and read them that way, which
But
is,
not a lot of people wanna print 100 pages of.
yes, and I don't blame them. It's a lot,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I
I mean, the
mean-
warrant is 72 pages, I wasn't gonna print that out, I printed the few we did have tonight,
Yeah,
Yep.
but 72 pages, I got electronically if I needed
I've been
it.
pulling them up electronically in front of me, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figured at some point I would want a hard copy, so I went ahead and did it, but it took
Yeah,
a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
All right, anything else on that any thoughts people have or questions? All right. Item G is registration for the Association of Town Finance Committees annual meeting on November 4th. As I said in sending you all the link earlier this week, I'm signed up, Julie's signed up, we can carpool. I think it's probably a useful thing to do, especially if you've never done it before, but it's everybody's personal decision as to whether you want to do that or not. You need to register on your own. Hopefully, we have enough money in the budget to pay for everybody's registration on this.
Where's it being held?
Do you remember where it is?
Sharon.
Is it Sharon?
Yeah.
It's not that
Yeah.
far away.
It's on the fourth.
On Master Park?
It's a
that hall?
Saturday,
Yeah, it's a Sharon, I think, I wanna say it's a community center or?
something like, it's
Yeah.
usually that,
Well, it's a
something
great
like that.
location.
It is, yeah.
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 So,
Many times.
I'll get back to you in a few days on
yeah,
that.
you can just, go, click on the link and register yourself. I don't need to register
Okay.
you, so, and I would just prefer that everybody do that, to be responsible for their own,
Mhm.
but it will bill back to the town, so it should bill back to the town, so I think that will be good, okay?
Mhm.
All right. Our next meeting is next Wednesday. As I have said before, we're gonna be meeting every week until we don't have to anymore,
No, I have a problem with next Wednesday, I will not be able to attend.
okay?
I'll be out of town, so I
Okay,
didn't, I
and
wanted you
Jody,
to know that.
When are you missing? Is it the next week, the 4th?
No, the week after, I leave the
11th.
6th. 4th is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I
No, I'll
leave
be
that
here for the
Friday.
fourth, that's just.
So I'm
I
just,
won't be
I'm
here the 10th,
making sure we're gonna have a
So-
quorum is what I'm asking. So you two will be missing meetings, but different meetings.
Yes.
And does anyone else know of any conflicts that they have? Okay,
No.
I'm sure everyone's doing their best and we'll try to stay healthy and,
No, I'll be at every meeting, I just,
Yeah, I-
next week I'm gonna be gone.
yes. And if you're not,
Zoom meeting's great.
Yeah,
I don't know
also,
if I can do it with the time change, but,
yes, I don't think you can do that from Ireland,
No.
because it'll be the middle of the night.
yeah,
right, right.
I mean, you could, but I
I'm
don't
not
think
a
you
night
should.
person.
No, I'm not. All right. And I have been busy scheduling people, I think except for the citizens, one of whom I have reached out to, but I haven't heard back, and one I'm still waiting for contact information. I've got everybody scheduled. So this has been a fairly short meeting. I tried to get more people in, but as you might imagine, it was a little tricky with the warrant just coming out and not even knowing who some of the people were. But the 4th is probably gonna be a pretty big meeting because we'll have the town administrator and planning, and that's a lot. So just be prepared. All right,
Well, the 4th is gonna be big. What, next week?
next week is the 27th, and as of right now, oh, and we also have sewer on the 4th. As of right now, we've got 3 of the 4 CPC grantees, and let's see what else. The town clerk has an article to specify that we don't do Saturday hours under most circumstances, Saturday office hours. And that is, and then I'm trying to schedule the citizens for next week as well, which would be a lighter meeting and would be a good time to have them. So
Everything the planning board has, we may wanna move the sewer department.
I've already tried.
We have a lot.
I actually
Planning
tried
is
to
a
get sewer
ton.
in next week and they just couldn't do it, so,
We have
um,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 articles,
yeah.
7 articles.
So,
Yeah.
actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Sewer is on the 11th,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
and they will have a new and improved presentation for us, I understand.
Oh, good.
So, all right? All right, and at this point, I would entertain a motion
I
to
just wanna
adjourn.
say, I think this is great that we get this done. I think it's
Thank you,
I
thank
think
you.
it's a win-win.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
Matt's
Matt. I think
responsible.
it's a win-win for a lot of
Matt.
people, like,
Yep.
you know, I think it's, try and see how it goes.
I
I make a
think-
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, we are adjourned.
Okay, 7:13.